This video is sponsored by Keeps. More on them later. It feels like Kingdom Hearts has been around for longer than it actually has. Only since 2002, but Square Enix have been busy in that time, and 20 years later we've got a very popular and successful franchise that I'm going to spend today unpacking for you fine people. It's interesting though, because excluding Japanese exclusives and remakes and collections, we've only got 11 games to play with today, but they've left such an indelible mark on the gaming industry and the people who've played them that I'm impressed with what Square have done in a relatively short period of time. Not every Kingdom Hearts game is all that great, but when the series is firing on all cylinders, they can be pretty goddamn special. Also, there's new games coming soon, so now's a good time to take stock and work out if this franchise is heading in the right direction or not. My hope is that with enough help I can push my hairline in the right direction too, and thanks to this video's sponsors Keeps, that's now incredibly realistic. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness before they turn 35, and so we have to be thankful that Keeps are doing so much good work in their field. These guys are very knowledgeable when it comes to preventing hair loss with their FDA approved treatment that comes with years of experience and a boatload of successful cases under their belts. In fact, they're so smart that they know that hair loss is different from one guy to the next, which is why their treatment comes in 3 different variants depending on what kind of hair loss you're experiencing. Plus, you can get everything shipped directly to your door so you don't have to wait for the world to not be terrible before you can fix your hair. Keeps' treatment packages are already cheaper than their competitors, but with the deal they're running with me, you can save even more money. For a limited time off, you can go to keeps.com/rabbid or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. Stop hair loss now before it's too late. Anywho, let's talk about darkness and hearts and nobodies and some other stuff that I don't really understand. To the casual onlooker, it might be a little challenging to earmark one Kingdom Hearts game as the obvious worst one in the franchise, and hell, even to a somewhat keen fan of the series, you may not have had enough experience of Union Cross, a Kingdom Hearts game stylized by this funky looking Greek X that I'm never gonna find in any font that I use. Which is sadly the last creative thought that anyone ever had with this thing. It's mobile exclusive, so everything's covered in a thin but very sticky layer of microtransactions, and with a simpler presentation style it feels very detached from the Kingdom Hearts that you'd come to expect. It's had a few expansions and it's been well supported since its debut in Japan almost a decade ago, but it just isn't as well thought out as mainline Kingdom Hearts games. But hey, if you're here for lots and lots of story, then there sure is a lot of that to digest and never completely understand. Maybe it's a true Kingdom Hearts game after all. Outside of exploitative mobile games, the next worst Kingdom Hearts game is probably Coded and Recoded, which started life as an episodic puzzle games for phones. Yeah, Tetsuo Nomura was a little obsessed with getting Kingdom Hearts onto portable platforms for a while and didn't really know how best to go about it. It shares a lot of the same issues as Union Cross, with it being quite hard to translate normal gameplay onto mobile devices, and yeah, Coded is a little better because the puzzle mechanics are kind of fun, but it just ain't Kingdom Hearts. Recoded came out shortly after in the West, which just compiled all the episodes onto the DS, and while it's very convenient, it still ain't all that good. Incidentally, Nomura's obsession with handhelds comes from a desire to make Kingdom Hearts more widely accessible for new players. As if using Disney characters isn't already very accessible. I hear a lot of bad things said about 358 over 2 days quite often, and sometimes those people aren't talking about its fucking stupid name. Even now I'm not completely confident that I said it right. Aside from its name, Daisy's problem is that the framing of its pretty good story pushes its gameplay towards these insanely tedious recon missions where you explore lifeless environments looking for specific mission markers to make progress. I get why these are here, because you're experiencing Roxas's daily life as part of the organization, and sometimes daily life can feel a bit grindy, but it shouldn't compromise how a game feels to play. It's a shame too, because the story is mostly pretty good, with slow burning character development that simmers just under the surface and takes place over multiple different cutscenes, and some very heavy hitting moments near the end. On its own, it's also one of the more understandable stories that Kingdom Hearts has ever told, so it's a bit of a miracle really. The second game of a new franchise is an interesting time to change up the core gameplay mechanics, but that's exactly what happened with Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories. To be fair, how else was Kingdom Hearts going to fit on the Game Boy Advance? And as a compromise, I don't completely hate the card battles. I know a lot of people do, but I'm kind of okay with them. I admire the creativity and I appreciate that Square found an alternative that makes the most out of the hardware limitations, but I don't know, I always found the card battles awkward to navigate, and over the course of the entire game it ended up grinding me down a bit too much. Still though, Chain of Memories looks incredible and was able to incorporate full motion video, which just, how do you do that on a GBA? It was pretty much intended to be a bridge between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and deliberately meant as something different to drag in other demographics for the sequel, and for a side game, there's been a lot of work put into this one and everybody should be quite proud. Are you ready for the 5th handheld Kingdom Hearts game in a row? I'm not, because I need to get footage for all of these somehow, and that sounds like a pain in the dick. But luckily, Dream Drop Distance is the last handheld game that we'll be tackling today. Except for one more. And I suppose what I'm saying is that it's one of the best portable Kingdom Hearts games? You know what, I reckon it is, because it actually plays like Kingdom Hearts should, and as we'll come to find out, this franchise is really fun when it's on song. Flow motion means that you can do some ridiculous shit in combat and stay airborne for ages, but it's also used as a movement option outside of combat, and damn, these worlds are too big and empty and take ages to walk around. It's a strange game because there's a lot here that feels very Kingdom Hearts, but also the way in which the story is presented almost feels like a parody of this franchise's reputation for confusing plot lines. I'm gonna lay this all out nice and simple for you. Kingdom Hearts does not need time travel. I didn't think that this needed clarifying, but no, fucking don't do this. Nomura is 100% making things up as he goes along. You know, it's really hard for me to judge and rank Kingdom Hearts 0.2, and now my little comment about these games being named really badly has new relevance. It was included as part of Kingdom Hearts 2.8, which is an HD collection of Dream Drop Distance 0.2 and Union Cross back cover, which is just a long film that features a story set during the worst Kingdom Hearts game. Yeah, it's a game that doesn't really need to exist, but it fills some holes in the narrative to set up the third game and puts you in control of Aqua to help follow on after Birth by Sleep. It won't keep you busy much beyond 3 hours, but that time is well spent with a pretty fun teaser of what mainstream Kingdom Hearts looks like. Remember that 3 came 14 years after 2, so you can understand why the devs were keen to show off all they've done and learned in that time. It's Kingdom Hearts Ground Zeroes, but packaged alongside some other interesting things that help give it some extra value. On its own though, it does feel like a fifth of a normal video game. Which honestly is how a lot of people see rhythm games, especially spin-off rhythm games that don't really add a lot to their franchise, but I gotta say, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory is a really pleasant game to play. Nothing more than that. I can't pretend that it uproots trees and redefines how good this franchise can be, but it does everything that I could want a Kingdom Hearts rhythm game to do. I've glossed over it so far, but there are some absolutely incredible pieces of music in this franchise, so making a rhythm game where you get to dive back into 2 decades of Kingdom Hearts history and let the glorious music wash over you is a very, very good idea. It is a little shallow as far as Kingdom Hearts goes, but you can't expect rocket science with this one. In fact, I'm just happy that the story has been toned down massively, and less like something where I need to bring the entire Kingdom Hearts wiki with me in order to stand a chance. It's incredibly simple, but plays its role so well that I couldn't care less. If the choices are roaming through YouTube playlists for Kingdom Hearts music or playing Melody of Memory, at least this one keeps my hands busy. I'm not too sure what was floating around in the water in the early 2000s, but whatever it was, it clearly gave some crazy Japanese designers the boost they needed to fully realize their Final Fantasy cross Disney fanfiction in a real-world video game. Kingdom Hearts 1 has no business being as good as it is, and just goes to show how perfect the circumstances were that brought this franchise to life. You got 3 different types of characters to juggle, and somehow having Final Fantasy and Disney characters on screen at the same time isn't the strangest thing I've ever seen. Even though every time Mickey Mouse puts a black cloak on, it's the funniest shit ever. Honestly, it's a miracle that this franchise doesn't have more problems with tone. More specifically to Kingdom Hearts 1 though, you can tell in a lot of places that this was a new concept for Square, and there's issues here that were ironed out later down the road, like the crappy camera and your teammates missing the I out of AI, but that's to be expected really. You can anticipate rough edges when there's this much creativity being thrown around, and especially with gaming moving towards being more cinematic, something this ambitious was always likely to be well received. Can't say we've looked back much since. It says a lot about the hyperbole that likes to hover around this franchise sometimes that I've seen Kingdom Hearts 3 described as both comfortably the best game in the franchise and also as a disappointing mistake that Square Enix should apologise for immediately, but I don't think either extreme is particularly accurate. When I first played Kingdom Hearts 3, I was a little swept up in how it's been 14 years since the last numbered game, and it felt like meeting up with an old friend. Unfortunately, the years haven't been so kind, and Kingdom Hearts 3 still has issues with pacing its story out properly, and telling the kind of narrative that doesn't get hopelessly lost in all the stupid jargon. Still though, gameplay basically has never been better, and now you've got the privilege of bringing some flippy-dippy combat to the Toy Story world, and the Frozen world, and the weirdly realistic world. Oh, I kinda don't like it. Yeah, I don't agree with every decision that Kingdom Hearts 3 made, but there is still an absolute avalanche of stuff that I like about it. Rhythm games notwithstanding, this is the latest Kingdom Hearts game, and I gotta say, I feel like this franchise is headed in the right direction. Hopefully KH4 is a little less divisive. I wouldn't dream of calling Birth by Sleep something unflattering like the black sheep of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, but it is perhaps a bit of an underrated contender to take top spot here. I actually went back and forth a bit over whether or not I should put it above or below Kingdom Hearts 3, but no. Birth by Sleep does too many things right for me to debate that for too long. The reason why Birth by Sleep stands out as both a really satisfying Kingdom Hearts game and also a bit of an anomaly is how much it tries to move the franchise forward, and clearly this won't work for everyone, but I love how much there is to do in Birth by Sleep. There's a lot of retreading the same scenarios and the same boss fights with different characters, and hey, I can understand if that doesn't vibe with everyone, but I had a lot of fun with this one for a long time. Also, I'm pretty sure that Yoko Shimomura was at the helm for writing music like usual, but Birth by Sleep has so many jams in it, it's a little unbelievable. It's almost distractingly good. Yeah, I think most of you could have seen where this was going. You can structure a good argument for basically any game that I've talked about so far, but there is a general consensus floating around that Kingdom Hearts 2 is comfortably the best game in this franchise, and I'd say you've got a good shout for it being one of the best games ever made. If Kingdom Hearts 1 was a bit silly and goofy, Kingdom Hearts 2 was refined out the wazoo and sought to improve on every single component from the first game, even the good bits. Yes, the story started to grow infinitely more tendrils, but it brought Roxas into the mix by way of a misdirected first act, and it's probably the first indication that Kingdom Hearts 2 will be taking things more seriously. Not in a way that de-emphasizes the cartooniness, but actively seeks to combine it with the fantasy stuff more organically, and hey, from a distance it probably still looks a bit weird, but it's surprisingly consistent and in the end a glorious celebration of all sides. With improved combat and loftier scenarios, Kingdom Hearts 2 is home to some of my all-time favourite boss fights, and some of the flashiest combat I've ever seen. It's a fearless sequel that knew exactly what was required of it, and it will take a lot for it to be toppled in the future. I would love to see them try though. So yeah, after all of that, I think that is every single standalone Kingdom Hearts game ranked from worst to best. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in a comment down below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more in the future. And if you need a video to watch right now, there's a video here about the most punishing video games ever made. I also want to thank my top supporters on Patreon, including AJ887, Fusion Warrior, and Raina Bana Bobana. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.